In 2010, popular culture graced us with what may be one of the most crowning achievements in music history: Miracles by the Insane Clown Posse. If you didn't immediately get a big infectious grin on your face because you remembered what I'm talking about, that's the song that has this line.
Fucking magnets, how do they work?
Yeah, that's the one. For the somehow uninitiated, the Insane Clown Posse are multi-platinum selling artists who perform dark and horror-themed hip-hop under the meta-narrative of, well, being an insane posse of clowns. Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope have been cranking out albums for over 30 years, and their diehard fans are called Juggalos, their mythology is called the Dark Carnival, and their drink of choice is Faygo. Miracles is a very popular and universally beloved song, with a string of deep philosophical questions emerging from its lyrics that continually beg the listener to have an answer for them. And I'm here to help you out. I'm going to be reading through the lyrics of Miracles by the Insane Clown Posse and answering every question they ask in it, as well as debating every statement of fact they make to the best of my ability. Hopefully this means any aspiring juggalos out there can use this video as a knowledge base before they start down their journey through the Dark Carnival. Whoop whoop. And speaking of Insane Clown Posse, when I say popular mobile game, what first comes to mind? Raid Shadow Legends? Of course, because there's literally no other answer. Raid Shadow Legends is the only game with over 700 unique champions, a tactical RPG battle system, incredible graphics, free frozen yogurt coupons, and intense PvE and PvP content all in one place. Except I lied about the frozen yogurt coupons. Plarium Games doesn't make dairy-based desserts, they make great video games, dummy. Try to pay attention. If you want a list of my top 3 favorite champions, I gotta go with Axeman, Troglodyte, and my brand new all-time favorite champion, Bully. Be sure to feed all of your other champions to him so you can level them up as fast as possible. Raid is currently doing an egg hunt, and not ovarian eggs like you'd expect. We're talking dragon eggs. New players just need to download Raid Shadow Legends using my link below, copy your in-game player ID, and go to egghunt.plarium.com from today to May 15th. Enter your player ID and do some wacky AR stuff to win amazing in-game items and real-life prizes, ranging from a legendary champion to Amazon gift cards worth up to $20,000. Existing players can also go to that link to earn a special promo code for a free in-game gift. If you haven't started playing yet, then let my own deepfake voice convince you to do so. Play the game, you dumb idiots. New players can use my link or scan the QR code on the screen and get a free starter pack with this cool in-game loot. Once you're in-game and crushing your enemies, come find me under my super obvious that it's me name of Bacon Fry Man Pan and join my clan. Hit my link in the description and I'll see you on the battlefield? I thought this was a phone game. Oh, they're role playing. Oh, okay, I got it. Maybe we should do one more.
We got a theory. You see, Mike, we got a theory.
Contrary to popular belief, the Insane Clown Posse are not talking to their microphone in this line as if it were personified. They are in fact referring to Mike E. Clark, who made the music for every track off the album Miracles comes from.
About magic and miracles.
There's actually ongoing debate in the religious community right now on whether or not to quantify miracles as magic and vice versa. Many argue that miracles come strictly from God, while others proclaim the old square and rectangle bit, saying one is the other but not the other way around. I'm not sure if the Insane Clown Posse were referencing this theological debate with this line, but props to them if they were. But this is also a great time for me to put up a very important disclaimer on this video. Keep this in mind as you watch the rest of this dumb idea like the good boy or girl that you are. The miracle denomination in a lot of these lyrics inadvertently calls on the debate I just mentioned. If you are of the belief that miracles come directly from God, and also of the belief that God is the ultimate creator of the universe, then everything could be correctly categorized as a miracle if it's within God's creation. Which would mean, in technicality, the entirety of this song is factually accurate. Under those assumptions, everything listed in this song, the oceans, the sky, the trees, etc., is by definition a miracle. That's a fully qualitative argument and one I can't disprove under those conditions. After all, everything in life could be credited related to God no matter what it is, so it's a losing battle. But for the rest of this video, let's operate under the assumption that this is not the point ICP are trying to make here. Let's all agree for this analysis that a miracle is defined as something we don't know the cause of or cannot explain. Based on the general theming of the song, their work, and interviews I've read, that also seems to be the case. I'm going to quote Violent J himself in an interview on this song to back up my point. They're miracles. They're little gifts of freshness on this earth. And I'm not saying they're from God, even if they're all nature and it all can be explained by science. They're every bit still as cool as they were. A giraffe. A fucking giraffe, alright? Maybe if you live in the desert in Africa, a giraffe ain't shit to you. But for some motherfuckers from Detroit, a giraffe is some shit, man. It is awesome living on the second story of a house and have a giraffe stick its head in your bedroom. Tell me you won't freak the fuck out. My hypothesis for this song is that it's ultimately not a Christian rap ballad praising the grace of God, but instead the clowns are celebrating how much they enjoy not knowing the mysteries of life and lamenting their frustrations that as they become older, they learn the truth behind things. To summarize, just so you remember, for this debate, the words magic and miracles strictly mean something unexplainable or unknowing, and not anything in a religious context. Keep that in mind.
If magic is all we've ever known, then it's easy to miss what really goes on.
Magic isn't all that we've ever known. Magic is, by our definition, something unexplainable or unknowable, a force, energy, or event that doesn't have any sort of logic behind it. Consequently, this would mean that science, which is the pursuit and documentation of what we know and have yet to know, could be considered the best counterexample of magic, and human beings know a lot of science. Science has existed in concept since the earliest human civilizations. For example, the knowledge of the domestication of corn agriculture was passed down via oral tradition over 9,000 years ago in Mexico, which was well before the invention of even writing. This and many other examples provide proof that long before knowledge became officially documented to pass down forever, humans were aware of science via their community and traditions. Now, if you want to narrow the description of science to applied fields so you can give it a weightier definition to compete with magic, then know that modern mathematics, astronomy, and medicine started as early as 3000 BCE with the ancient Egyptians and Mesopotamians, which is only a few thousand years after the earliest known examples of mass religion. Now, remember the explanation earlier. I'm not trying to be all college freshmen on Reddit and say, oh, science, good, religion, made up magic bullshit. But there are plenty of examples of religious tales laden with examples of magic, especially when that magic is described as a miracle. You see what I did? I took you full circle, you stupid bitch. As for smaller, more localized beliefs, it's impossible to pinpoint when those started. But either way, the claim of magic is all we've ever known has been falsified for at least the last 5,000 or so years. Next, we have the then it's easy to miss what's really going on line, which is a simple P implies Q logical deduction. Since our initial condition P, in this case if magic is all we've ever known, is false, then we can assert that it being easy to miss what's really going on does not need to be true. It still could be, but it's not really a statement of fact as much as it is an opinionated assertion.
But I've seen miracles in every way, and I see miracles every day.
These are I statements, meaning they're from the viewpoint of the Insane Clown Posse, and trying to debate their lens of the world is stupid and childish. If anything, I applaud the unbridled optimism here, because worldviews are made entirely out of how you craft them. Self-esteem, self-worth, and motivation all blossom within someone's own perception of themselves and their environment. An optimist and a pessimist can view the exact same scenario and have a litany of words written in opposite directions on what happened and what it means. When you think about it, if the Insane Clown Posse claim they witness miracles every day and they're not referring to the definition of miracle to mean an event directly from God or an act that surpasses all known laws of nature, then in a way their claim is absolutely right. According to dictionary.com, two definitions for the word miracle include 1. A wonder or marvel. 2. A wonderful or surpassing example of some quality. So let's put this in a bit more plain English, the same way the ICP do with their lyrics. The Insane Clown Posse notice really outstanding and wonderful things throughout their day-to-day lives. Is that really that unusual? Sure, the song may have fallen apart a bit in its initial interpretation of meaning later, but for now, I'm on board with what they're spitting.
Ocean spanning beyond my sight, and a million stars way above them at night.
The maximum ocular range for a person on Earth without any obstructions is about 3 miles. After that point, curvature of the Earth drops off and forms the horizon. Although each ocean absolutely has a distance spanning beyond 3 miles, we can get very, very technical here and point out that there really is only one ocean. There are 4 named sections of the giant body of water connected all over the Earth, potentially 5 depending on whether or not you count the Southern/Antarctic Ocean, but if we want to be precise, there is only one ocean, so the plural of oceans here is incorrect. Now that's a bit of a petty crackdown, I'll admit, but where I have to draw the line is the sheer asinine miscalculation of the next lyric. Claiming there are millions of stars in the sky is either a vast over- or underestimation, and is just flat out wrong buffoonery. In referencing the stars above the oceans, we assume Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope mean one of two things. 1. The amount of stars existing above the ocean in relevance to the position of the Earth. Now this could become a complex problem of angles and altitudes, but for the sake of simplicity, let's just say they mean the amount of stars visible to the human eye in the night sky on average. Or 2, they're referring to the amount of stars above the ocean at all times, which, if you're standing on Earth at any given point, would refer to all stars in space, as well as any star-shaped objects that are above sea level, but again, for the sake of simplicity, let's just go with their best intention of meaning and say that they mean all of the stars in space. In either case, the Insane Clown Posse's postulation is entirely wrong. If we're only accounting the number of stars visible to the human eye from Earth, that's a total of about 5,000, which is far less than a million. And if we're considering every star that exists in space, the number is roughly 200 sextillion, which is 200 billion trillion, which is far greater than 1 million. Normally that wouldn't be a problem, but I'm a bit ashamed ICP didn't go with the sextillion reference here. It's such an easy number to make funny for their lyrics. It's got a funny word right in it. Tillion.
You don't have to be high to look in the sky and know that's a miracle open wide.
This first statement is true, so go ahead and add another point to the ICP scoreboard. Try this at home for yourself, especially if you're sober. Go outside to any outdoor area without any overhead covering such as trees or rooftops, and you can see the sky without being under the influence of substances and without the need of any assistance, assuming you have no issues with general mobility. As for the second point, the sky as we know it in its distinct color are created when light waves reach the Earth's atmosphere and diffuse amongst the molecules found therein. The sky normally takes on a blue color because blue light travels shorter, smaller waves which oscillate the molecules in the air faster, reflecting more of the light, meaning more blue light than any other color will be visible in a regular sky.
Look at the mountains, trees, the 7 seas, and everything chilling underwater, please.
Mountains form from a variety of factors, including movement of the Earth's crust, volcanic activity, and when your mother sits on the ground too fast. Trees grow from pre-existing trees or seeds, kind of like how your mother grows a baby from my seed. You plant the seed in the soil where it can absorb water and nutrients, and it will naturally begin a process called germination if the conditions are right. Eventually, depending on the type of tree, they will reproduce sexually or asexually, utilizing seeds or replanted sections of the tree, respectively. And finally, I just laid the verbal smackdown explaining that there's only one ocean. Do you really need to be given a hardcore book thumping on the ridiculous claim of the 7 seas? To begin with, scientists don't even agree which seas make up the 7 in this idiom. Most commonly, the 7 seas refers to the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, the Persian Gulf, which isn't really a sea. The qualifiers are pretty similar, but a gulf is a more narrow sea surrounded by more land. The Black Sea, the Adriatic Sea, the Caspian Sea, and the motherfucking Indian Ocean, which isn't a sea. and shouldn't even be considered an ocean. Unless you're writing a brand new fictional pirate novel or a book on dumb phrases that stupid people use about the sea, keep the words 7 seas out your fucking mouth. In other more modern contexts, the 7 seas typically refers to the oceans of the world, with the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean being split into North and South due to their size, and goddammit, this is still the dumbest fucking idea on the planet. Those aren't even seas anymore. Those are just large arbitrary bodies of water. And I'm well aware that the 7 7 large arbitrary bodies of water isn't a very catchy name. I just wanted to make sure the Insane Clown Posse weren't getting new ideas for lyrics. Then again, arbitrary is a word with more than 8 letters, so it's unlikely they'd ever be able to use it. There! I made an ICP is stupid joke. Are you happy now? Can we get back to my fucking analytical essay? And back to it we need to go so I can shame all of us for thinking ICP are stupid. Their description of everything chilling underwater as a miracle is, at least as of this video, pretty accurate. We really don't know jack shit about the deep sea. How life formed in the deep ocean despite the complete lack of sunlight is up to continually evolving scientific debate. And a large amount of the ocean floor still isn't mapped because it's so fucking hard to get down there, what with our dumb asses needing to breathe oxygen and stuff. In fact, you want to hear something that tickles my balls inside out? There's a very strong argument floating around in the scientific community that says that we know even less about the deep ocean than we do about space. Shit that's light years away on other fucking planets makes more sense to us than whatever the hell's going on in the deep blue sea. And the reason why is even more of a sensory tickler. It's because space, believe it or not, is more accessible. It's easier for us to study and go to orbiting celestial bodies than it is to plunge down into the giant H2O swill. An estimated 80% of the ocean is still unexplored, and yet we can tell you every goddamn thing there is to know about the moon and Mars. Think about it from the perspective of someone smarter than both of us. In other words, me in 5 minutes. Launching a capsule or telescope into space seems hard, and yeah, it is, but you know what's even harder? Sending one down into a continually moving pitch-black body of water with enough water pressure to equal 1,000 times the Earth's gravity. And no, you aren't a Super Saiyan who can train under those conditions. Get the fuck off the ship to Namek and pack it up, cowboy. The ocean depths are gonna win this one. Another point for the Insane Clown Posse. Is anyone keeping score? I'm actually kind of curious to see how many points I give them, because by the time this is over, I'm not gonna remember. Someone in the comments keep score. I'm serious. I'm not gonna fucking do it. Do it. I'm curious. Do it. Do it!
Hot lava, snow, rain and fog. Long-necked giraffes and pet cats and dogs.
The Earth is hot. It's really goddamn hot, and sometimes it needs to vent. But it doesn't do it by slamming a keyboard in its hands like it's a Counter-Strike player. It instead goes through a volcano or other seismic activity. You know that red goopy stuff that comes out? That's lava. It's melted rock. Let's do snow, rain, and fog together because they're the same thing that happens when your baby cousin rips his diaper off and goes running down the hall with it. It's just the same shit in different places. All 3 of these things are caused by water vapor forming from the atmosphere doing some dumb shit. If the water vapor forms in the clouds and eventually builds up enough to be pulled down by gravity, then it's rain. If the water vapor gets super cold in the clouds before it comes down, then it's snow. If the water vapor forms down here in the air and something cools it down rapidly, such as if the ground around an area is cold, then we get fog. If the water vapor gets tired of my shit and begins to drink heavily, then we get my stepdad. Giraffes have long necks thanks to that ever-present bastard evolution. Over time, giraffes evolved longer and longer necks from their ancestors because it allowed them to scan for predators from further away, and also allowed them to look at the tops of trees and feast away on the yummy leaves, whatever the fuck giraffes eat, without having to worry about competition. And I get it. If you saw a guy with a 3-foot neck coming into your house to begin raiding your fridge, you'd let him have the food in there. The only problem is that 3-foot neck guy speaks English, and long story short, I'm not a virgin anymore, but enough of that tangent. We're talking about Toys R Us Jeffrey up in here. Actually, I'm just kidding. That's all I had to say on giraffes. Cats and dogs became pets at different points in time for different reasons, but the logic behind domestication is always the same. You find a stupid wild animal, in the case of dogs it was originally wolves, and you give it some meat and say, hey buddy, do me a solid and help me with some shit and I'll give you some more meat. Of course at first the animal still hates you and it tears your throat out and pisses in the wound, but over time you find one that's up to the idea. Then you find its offspring that inherit that friendliness trait, pal around with them for a bit, repeat that cycle, and after a good long while you've got animals made to be pets. Fun fact, by the way, while old school wolves and current dogs were domesticated to help with hunting, cats were kept around as a form of pest control. You know how your cat will sometimes bring you a bird or a rat or some other helpless, pitiful thing that bleeds and shits all over your carpet? You better thank your cat for bringing that thing in. He's just doing a good job, and you're stifling his creativity.
And I've seen 85,000 people all in one room together as equal.
While undoubtedly this line is a great statement of Violent J's open-armed tolerance toward all races and religions, it's ultimately hilarious when you instead hear it as Violent J's way of announcing to the world that he knows how to count. There's nothing to dunk on here. All people are equal. That's shit you learn in 5th grade, and I still can't believe people these days are stupid enough to be racist. That's so stupid. 1 point to the Insane Clown Posse.
Pure magic is the birth of my kids. I seen shit that'll shock your eyelids.
Okay. When a man and a woman love each other very much, or when they kind of like each other, or when one of them has a lot of money, or really for any reason, to be honest, they have sex. Otherwise known as fucking. Long story short, because you guys have Pornhub, meaning you without a doubt know what happens from here, and I'm not going to risk demonetization, the man ejaculates inside the woman grows a baby inside her, baby fires out of woman's vagina like the most disgusting slime rocket you could ever imagine. But factually, I have to give another point to the ICP on this next line. To shock someone's eyelids would need to run an electric current through them. And I'm gonna guess that, statistically throughout his life, Shaggy 2 Dope has seen an object capable of producing an electric current. Power outlet, taser, electric wire, my penis when I'm walking around naked on a nylon rug. Figure that last one out, why don't you? The chances that Shaggy 2 Dope has seen at least one of these things in his lifetime, especially considering he recorded a music video inside a studio that was then uploaded to the internet, is essentially 100%. I suppose he could have done so under special circumstances like Chuck McGill in Better Call Saul, but to run with that idea is most likely just chicanery and not worth considering. Shaggy 2 Dope has seen things that would, under the right circumstances, effectively shock your eyelids, so give him the point they deserve.
The sun and the moon and even Mars, the Milky Way of fucking shooting stars.
Normally I'd respond on reflex and say the sun is a mass of incandescent gas, but that little factoid has been course corrected over the years to be the sun is a miasma of incandescent plasma, so I almost had to deduct a point from myself on that one. The moon is even easier to explain. It's a big fucking rock that orbits the Earth. The end. Mars is a planet. Okay, these are just things. The Milky Way is a galaxy that, and our solar system's in it. They may as well quote one of those I Spy books and say a table, a lamp, those books over there, a car, a bike, and a full head of hair, because this is all just plainly obvious things that just exist. I could go into their origins, but that doesn't really tell anyone who has never seen one what it is. And they are what they are. Now, shooting stars are a bit more fun to talk about. A shooting star happens when a piece of space debris smacks into the Earth's atmosphere and burns up on impact. Typically, the debris in question is small meteors. And what's a meteor, you ask? They're just fucking rocks in space. This section's hard to debunk because with all their other amazing declarations, there's at least a sense of a question. How did giraffes get long necks? Why does a tree grow? What the fuck is going on underwater? But for these, they're just kind of there. Go outside, look at the moon. What you see is what you get. Unless you want to subscribe to the old-timey 1950s cartoon logic that the moon was made out of green cheese, in which case you might be the primary lyric writer for the Insane Clown Posse in the next few years.
UFOs, a river flows, plant a little seed and nature grows.
UFO stands for Unidentified Flying Object, and I don't necessarily think it's important here to explain the cultural phenomenon of aliens or try to explain UFO sightings. I think it's more important to point out what ICP have inadvertently done here. This song, in the words of its creator, is about appreciating the magic of the world around you, no matter how trivial or banal. Presumably, these lyrics are specifically referencing miracles that Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope have personally experienced. Remembered one of the introductory lyrics, but I've seen miracles in every way, and I see miracles every day. This means through logical deduction that the Insane Clown Posse have made contact with UFOs. At some point in time, Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope have had meaningful contact with an alien race and/or spacecraft, and instead of contacting the government or trying to introduce them to humanity at large, they decided to label them a miracle and call it a day. Either that, or these two make regular contact with UFOs and are putting it in their list of small life appreciations like it's no big deal as a signal to us that these guys operate on a cosmic level that we can can only ever be envious of. I find it most comical that the most miraculous thing on this entire list is UFOs, because while everything else on this list is fairly explainable, UFOs at least have the potential to be truly beyond our understanding if they're caused by no bullshit aliens. And Violent J decided to throw this item on the list like it's as mind-blowing as ice cream or tissues with lotion built into them. Anyway, rivers flow because of gravity acting on the river in combination with changes in elevation, and I explained earlier how plants grow from seeds. Moving on.
Niagara Falls and the pyramids, everything you believed in as kids.
This might unironically be my favorite line in the whole show. These are two actually provocative entries, followed by a statement that summarizes the entire motif of the song. Give ICP another point for better explaining their point in a single bar compared to the rest of the song. Niagara Falls actually formed over 12,000 years ago during the Ice Age. Glaciers during that period were wacky little fuckers that didn't stay in place for too long. They'd evaporate, erode, shrink, and slide around and do all that wacky shit that everyone loves glaciers for. After a great kerfuffle of all that, the massive amount of water left behind from the process formed the Great Lakes, and eventually the Niagara River, which became a drainage channel from Lake Erie into Lake Ontario. Over about 2,000 years, this Great Lake diarrhea, if you will, carved out rocks and land masses to form the falls as we know them today, that have existed for about the last 10,000 years, because that's how math works. And you know what? Give ICP a bonus point on this one, because I bet you want me to now explain how the pyramids came around. Well, guess what? We don't fucking know. Until new definitive research arises, you could consider the pyramids, by our definition, a miracle, because we only have guesses as to what the fuck put them where they are now. While we have a really good idea of the planning and actual labor that went into their construction, the techniques used to put the pyramids together is a total mystery. One of the biggest of which is when Science Larry, the world's most annoying scientist, raised his hand at the science club one day and said, how did the ancient Egyptians get those super heavy rocks all the way to the top of the pyramids? And then all the other scientists began arguing over it because Science Larry causes chaos wherever he goes, that motherfucker. Some historians say it was a series of ropes and pulleys. Others say it was wet sand acting as a ramp, and others say that they took super mushrooms so they could just grow a couple feet taller and carry the stones up the pyramids, but we really don't know how the hell these people put those things together without having a cell phone to stare at on their break time to distract them from how hopelessly depressed they are. And lastly for this section, kids don't know how a lot of stuff works because kids are stupid. Obviously.
Fucking rainbows. After it rains, there's enough miracles here to blow your brain.
Rainbows are caused by light being tinkered with by water droplets in the air, which separates it into pieces of light spectrum made visible by its showcase of the colors within that spectrum. If you also had some level of 4th grade spelling, you'd probably deduce that the word rainbow has rain in it. So I'll let you little Einsteins at home make the connection there. Now I want to ease your fears, viewers at home. I want to make a public safety announcement. In my countless hours of study, in other words copying what I find on Google and Wikipedia for 20 minutes, I can conclude with near 100% certainty that it is impossible to learn so much information that your head would explode. I say near 100% certainty because in the case of miracles, who knows? Maybe one day someone will learn something so shocking it will cause their gray matter to literally and non-figuratively erupt. But for now, combing the totality of human knowledge on the internet, I have yet to find any piece of information that causes sudden, violent brain death. If I must lower my standards and be relatable for a minute, just remember that I'm the world's smartest man who knows absolutely everything, and I'm doing just fine. So you have nothing to worry about.
I fed a fish to a pelican at Frisco Bay. It tried to eat my cell phone. He ran away.
This is absolutely the funniest line in the song, and I stand by that. Yes, I'm aware that fucking magnets, how do they work, is the meme that catapulted this song into mainstream consciousness, but this one is just such a humorous and overly specific anecdote that it somehow is out of place in a fucking ICP song. Let me explain why this line cracks me up so bad and why I think it's truly a moment of greatness. You can explain a bird eating a cell phone, Without any knowledge of anything, you can explain this happening. Even a 5-year-old could put together that a bird is stupid and will try to eat a phone if it doesn't know what it is, especially since kids are stupid and try to eat stuff when they don't know what it is. There's some fairly perplexing stuff in this music video, and I'd easily wager that magnets are infinitely more difficult to understand than a bird trying to eat a phone. Imagine you had no knowledge of the scientific world at large. You were a fucking dirt farming peasant out in the countryside. Don't even know what a phone or the internet or jacking off is. If someone came up to you with some magnets and showed you that how they just by magic suddenly jolt together, you'd probably have a lot of fucking questions, and depending on your upbringing, you'd probably call it a miracle. But even a totally uneducated corn farmer can see a pelican and watch it try to eat anything it shouldn't and immediately understand, that dumb bird thinks that thing is food. Yeah, in this specific scenario, you'd have to explain what a cell phone is, but that's not the point. By this point, our law and order of the song is broken down. There isn't much of a semblance of an unexplainable miracle here. Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope are full on embracing the hidden meaning of the tune. This stuff is stuff we like and we think it's cool, and there's really nothing mysterious about it. And that's fine. I suppose I'm just more disappointed in people that a rationalizable line like fucking magnets became the jumping off point of making fun of this song, when being astounded that a bird tried to eat your phone and calling it a miracle is way funnier.
And music is magic, pure and clean. You can feel it and hear it, but it can't be seen.
I was initially going to give ICP a point here because saying that music under normal conditions can be felt and heard but not seen is a correct assertion. But sorry boys, it's not magic. It's all just vibrations at different pitches that create sound waves that our ears pick up. There's nothing special about that. Saying music's magic and special. How dare they? I bet they're the only musicians in history to say their music is special and can be felt by people around the world. God, anyone that thinks music is anything more than a purely physical process of stimuli is probably really stupid and shouldn't be trusted. It's just one step away from noise when you think about it. We're gonna skip the chorus as well as the outro because covering them would just be redundant. They don't really say much of anything in them we haven't already talked about. But that also means we're halfway done, baby, and I hope you learned something because while I literally knew all of this information already, in the future you're gonna be able to count YouTube educational videos as your major in college. And I can confidently say that I would be an incredible professor for whatever stupid senior thesis project you want to come up with. Can I fit a potato in my ass? A scientific analysis. This looks great. Go nuts. There's a protractor in my cabinet.
Music is a lot like love. It's all a feeling and it fills the room from the floor to the ceiling.
We discussed humans feeling emotions over music being stupid and pointless earlier, so let's go over the second claim. Oh, never mind, it's true. Sound waves do fill the entire space they occupy until being fully absorbed by the materials they pass through. Put music in an empty room and yeah, it'd go from the floor to the ceiling. Points go to ICP.
I see miracles all around me. Stop and look around, it's all astounding.
To tickle the pickle around redundancy and avoid repeating myself, all I want to say on this statement is both Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope are confirmed to not suffer from blindness. So each time they announce that they see miracles, it's factually accurate. Give them another point. You know what, give them all, honestly, who gives a shit? Give them all of them. I got a lot of them. I have so many points. Do you guys want a point? I am fucking loaded with these things and they smell so bad.
Water, fire, air, and dirt. Fucking magnets, how do they work?
There it is. You know, hearing it in all of its splendor brings me back to how much I do love that line, despite my earlier critique of it. Let's tear into this absolute gem of a pseudo-rhyme. In the Western world, the ancient Greeks are the ones who founded the concept of the 4 elements, and saw them as the natural building blocks that make up all matter. These were water, fire, air, and earth. If you're from the Eastern world, you may have heard this as the 5 elements, being water, fire, earth, metal, and wood. It's kind of a cheat shot to not acknowledge air there, but the point of all this is earth. Not dirt, earth. Come on, guys. The greatest cartoon of all time, Avatar: The Last Airbender, premiered in 2005, meaning you had 4 whole years before this song came out to go on a magical journey with Aang to discover the elements. It's not the sheer audacity of subtracting rocks, gravel, and sand from the earth equation by only talking about dirt that upsets me, it's the fact it's not that great of a rhyme. Dirt and work? I suppose it fits, but how about water, fire, air, and earth? Magnets are miracles for all they're worth. Or if you want to keep with the style of rap vulgarity and boastfulness, beware my penis, you can't handle its girth. That's shit I just came up with in 5 seconds. But with those lyrics, we wouldn't have the next line I get to dissect, and we may all not even be here today, so thank fate, destiny, or your elementary school crossing guard who made sure your dumbass didn't get hit by a car, because the big boy is up next. Fucking magnets. How do they work? Magnets are items that possess a magnetic field, and a magnetic field is produced by the motions of charged particles such as electrons and ions. These fields have positive and negative poles where the field is the strongest for the respective polarities, which when aligned create an even stronger magnetic field that acts as an attraction force to other objects with similar charges. If you orient a magnet to attract another object, the magnetic field it contains will manipulate that second object to align its charges with the magnet, pulling the objects together and creating that stronger force. And that's pretty complicated, actually. Alright, let me tone this one down for the average ICP fan and YouTube viewer because they have a lot more in common than you'd think. They're secret particle movements. Ninja particle movements. You know, like atoms and shit, how they make stuff up? Well, some of that shit makes up magnets, and it's got like hidden potential energy like Dragon Ball Z key-like shit to it, and it uses that to sync up with other particles like the fucking Power Rangers who like recruit other Power Rangers to the team from another object. This is getting super fucking stupid. Okay, there really isn't a simple explanation to how a magnet works. You gotta have preliminary middle school science knowledge under your belt to understand it. The point is... Okay, now I'm confused. How the fuck does a magnet work?
And I don't want to talk to a scientist. Y'all motherfuckers lying and getting me pissed.
Science is wrong all the fucking time. We used to think the Earth was the center of the universe, that disease was caused by bad air, that there was a planet called Vulcan between Mercury and the Sun, that the shape of a person's skull determined their personality, that the tongue could only experience 4 different tastes, that life could spontaneously generate from inorganic matter, that bloodletting and leeches were effective medical treatment for a variety of illnesses, that the atom was the smallest particle in the universe, that the Milky Way contained the entirety of the universe, that heavy objects fall faster than lighter objects, that the human brain only uses 10% of its functions in normal capacity, and that the Earth is flat. Technically, you still believe the Earth is flat if your life is so boring and your personality is so dry that you have to paranoidly obsess over convincing people of something that we only have better and better evidence for every decade just to make your life interesting. But the point is, scientists are wrong all the time. That's part of the scientific method. A good example of this is gravity is still a theory. Fucking gravity still has a little caveat that says this could all be completely disproven tomorrow. Let's test it out. Yep. Looks like gravity's confirmed, but someone could come along tomorrow and say, you know that thing that pulls you down to Earth? It's not gravity. It's tiny aliens in the air that are yanking you down, and we'll just have to accept that if they happen to have enough evidence that's sufficient in fully proving that's factual. Is that the same as lying? Well, no. Claiming something you believe is true without knowing it isn't lying is ignorance. There's nothing wrong with being ignorant as long as you're open to being proven wrong. But scientists do lie on occasion. There's tons of studies, including an entire Wikipedia article dedicated to scientific misconduct. Sometimes scientists just straight up lie about what they're doing for one reason or another. Maybe it's to earn grant money. Maybe it's for the prestige of a new discovery. Maybe they just want to claim they have a bigger penis than me, which we all know is scientifically impossible. But when it comes to proving how many of them are outright fibby boys versus how many of them are just dumbasses, it's an impossible task. We realistically won't ever know how many scientists have gotten away with total lies. How many of them lied and then covered it up with ignorance or misinformation? How many of them conducted faulty research that led to a false conclusion? Or, most amusingly, how many of them conducted faulty research that led to a positive conclusion? I mean, hell, just look up how Splenda was invented. I'm not entirely sure whether or not to give Shaggy 2 Dope a point for factual accuracy. On one hand, stating scientists are liars isn't totally true, but it's also not totally untrue. You know what? Give him the point, because I don't think he's lying when he claims that the liars are making him pissed. Lying's bad as far as I know, and I'd be pretty pissed too about the lack of scientific integrity.
Solar eclipse and vicious weather. 15,000 juggalos together.
Solar eclipse is pretty simple to explain. You know how the Earth, Moon, and Sun are spinning around and moving through space and shit? Sometimes things line up really nice and the moon sits in between the sun and the earth. Boom, that's a solar eclipse. By the way, because I was talking about flat earth earlier, and I was looking up some stuff just to confirm that I'm right about everything, apparently one of the theories that flat earthers say causes an eclipse is there's an object called an anti-moon that just kind of gets in the way sometimes. Where the fuck it goes every other time of the year, who knows? Vicious weather isn't really specific enough, and I'm not really sure what they're referring to. Do they mean natural disasters, intense weather like massive storms and blizzards, sudden weather changes like heat and cold waves? This is way too broad of a statement caused by way too many factors, but they're all factors we understand for the most part, so no miracle points here, I'm afraid. Oh, but do you want to give him another fucking point? Do ya? Do ya? You want to give him a point, you doughy motherfucker? The Gathering of Juggalos is an annual music festival put on by, big shocker here, the Insane Clown Posse. According to a few sources I can find, including the Juggalo Wiki and Wikipedia, the largest gathering had an attendance of 20,000 people. That would mean that not only is the idea of 15,000 Juggalos together a confirmed fact, but Jay and Shaggy could have witnessed at least 15,000 Juggalos all in the same place at the same time, depending on how many Juggalos showed up for their performance at the gathering, which I'm going to assume was all of them because that's kind of the fucking point.
And I love my mom for giving me this time on this planet. Take nothing for granted.
Yep, nothing to say here, really. Humans require a womb to be successfully born, and chances are that the one you chose to be born from was your mother's. I think I'll be waiting for the day that someone unironically can say, yeah, I was born from my uncle's womb. Good luck explaining that one. Also, give ICP a big old point for just plain old motivation. I can always get behind anything that tells people to stop wasting their fucking time and to appreciate all the cool shit life has to offer.
I seen a caterpillar turn into a butterfly. Miracles ain't nothing to lie.
Now don't jump the gun on this one, people. I was this close to typing up paragraphs explaining how a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, but that's not the statement being made here. The lyric is, I seen a caterpillar turn into a butterfly, and that is most likely true. Both members of the Insane Clown Posse grew up in Michigan, and the band itself was formed in Detroit in 1989, which they still represent today. According to CaterpillarIdentification.org, a website that honestly I'm just really happy exists, there's about 132 easily identifiable species of caterpillar in Michigan, and there's most likely a good number more out there because trying to find all those little shits is a pain in the dick. My point is, statistically, both members of ICP have most likely seen a caterpillar in their lives, and it's pretty likely at least one of them has watched the process of one of them turning into a butterfly. In fact, if they fuck around on YouTube like the modern world does and just search for caterpillar turns into butterfly, then their claim is absolutely verifiable. Hell, I put footage of that exact thing behind me during this entire spiel, so now you too can claim you'd seen a caterpillar turn into a butterfly if you hadn't before. You're welcome. Oh, and also, Violent J's 2003 autobiography Behind the Paint details a story about how he and his brother caught a butterfly as kids, so yeah, there's that too. It's pretty damning evidence.
Shaggy's little boys look just like Shaggy, and my little boy looks just like Daddy.
Well, no shit they look like you. You painted their faces to match yours. Duh. God, I'd fucking hope they look like you without the face paint. Otherwise, there's a lot of problems behind the scenes that you guys aren't aware of. Okay, this one's pretty easy to explain. Children typically look like their parents because who the fuck else would they look like? It's the parent's DNA that forms the child in the first place, and there's only so many odds and ends of the genetic material that the child can pull from as it's being cooked in the vagina oven. Although this entire statement and argument totally forgets about the concept of adoption, so it's not a miracle I have to disprove so much as it's just an untrue statement. If you out there are adopted and this made you feel bad, cheer up. Your parents were probably worthless alcoholics anyway, and being an orphan brings you one step closer to being Batman. And after all that, the lyrics become much more conceptual. The standard fare of the song transforms to more inspirational and spiritual resolutions, instead of just pointing at objects and bluntly saying, "That right there is a miracle." Well, except this last one.
Crows, ghosts, the midnight coast.
Ghosts are thrown into the same well of paranormal topics in that while we have significant proof of individual instances not existing, we can't ever say for certain that they don't exist at all. You could consider ghosts a miracle, but that only intends that you believe in them and that you can describe an instance of their doing that we haven't fully disproven or at least developed plausible theories for. It's funny how with the rise of video cameras being in every person's pocket, the rate of credible ghost claims has plummeted significantly. I'm not exactly sure what the Midnight Coast is. It doesn't seem to refer to a specific location or idea. If they're simply referring to being on the coast at the hour of midnight, well, that just explained itself, didn't it? And finally, everyone knows what a crow is. If you more specifically referenced a crow's intelligence, then boy, would I have a jumping point out here, because crows are smart as fuck. They can recognize individual people, solve puzzles, use tools, make whatever the hell noise this is. But even crows probably know what crows are because it doesn't take much to explain what a crow is, and therefore it's not a miracle. And it's a miracle we got to the end, because from what I can tell, every other lyric in this song isn't anything that needs to be disproven. They're instead positive affirmations telling you to see the miracles all around you and appreciate life for what it is. But you know what I think is a miracle? A genuine miracle from my perspective? That two rappers from Detroit who label themselves as insane, wear clown makeup in their performances, and frequently create songs about violence, mental illness, misogyny, and drug abuse, took the time to write a song that explicitly, from start to finish, is about appreciating all the small wonders that life has to offer. And the internet condensed it into a single line out of context to try to prove a point about how stupid they are. Look, I'm not an Insane Clown Posse fan. I'm not even a rap fan at all, really. I like power metal, the best genre of music of all time. But this song got a really bad reputation because people can't take 5 fucking minutes to research things that make them chuckle like I do. Insane Clown Posse's content is by no means highbrow. Their lyrics and creative output definitely aren't redefining genres or speaking a new emotional language. But to deny them credit where credit is due is to place yourself down on the stupidity level that you initially tried to lower them to by making fun of them in the first place. Fucking magnets, how do they work? And I don't want to talk to a scientist, y'all motherfuckers lying and getting me pissed, is not a claim of willful ignorance. It's an exclamation of frustration over how boring the world becomes once you learn the truth behind things. Don't believe me? Here's a direct quote from Shaggy 2 Dope on the whole thing. Let's say you're young, and you're about to get some skin at a chick's house, but her mom comes home. Fuck her mom. You know, it's not really fuck her mom, let's go beat her up. It's like, fuck her for coming home when you're about to get some pussy. Although not eloquent, it's pretty easy to understand that the idea behind the song is entirely intent and emotion rather than literal statements of fact. It's all one big metaphor. And if you don't think songs can be metaphorical, well, then you just might be the dumbest motherfucker on the planet. Here's my analogy for this point. What's more fun and exciting? Living in a world where a big jolly fat man in a red suit leaves you presents every Christmas in exchange for milk and cookies? Or finding out that it's just your parents waking up in the middle of the night and putting stuff under your tree while you're asleep? What's cooler, watching a pro wrestling match and screaming, "Holy shit, Stone Cold Steve Austin just hit The Rock with the Stone Cold Stunner. There's no way he'll get out of this one," or thinking the whole time, "That didn't really hurt, all of this is acting, and beyond displays of athleticism, this shit is all fake"? What's more fulfilling, analyzing Miracles by Insane Clown Posse for its intention and dissecting its meaning, or just taking one line out of context and using it as a jumping off point to lambaste the entire thing? The shoe's on the other foot now, I guess. But I made this video entirely in good fun. I knew exactly what all of this was before I made this thing in the first place, but I'm very curious to know how many of you knew this fact before watching my video. The entire gimmick of me debunking the ICP's claims of miracles is a meta joke in itself, and this entire thing has become a thought-provoking Ouroboros that I intended it to be from the start. The inner meaning of miracles has itself become about the song itself, and now that I've spoiled the magic for you, will you ever think about the song in the same way again? Now look, I don't agree with every aspect of the Insane Clown Posse and their fans, nor am I trying to defend the things they do. After all, Juggalos are officially classified as a gang by the FBI for a reason. But I also hate just blanket trashing things without understanding them. That's what people without personalities do to fit in, and what lazy people rely on when they haven't done their own homework. And I'm neither. Feel free to criticize ICP in ways that they deserve, but only because you formed that opinion yourself. People are quick to deride popular hate bears. ICP songs are terrible, Twilight books are awful, the Transformers movies are stupid, but why? Sure, many of you can provide reasonable answers to those questions, but I'd wager a shocking significant portion of you out there only know those facts and not a single one that justifies those opinions, because that's just the popular thing to say. And all I can say is that before I made this video and after actually reading the lyrics to this song and taking the time to understand the themes, I don't like the song any more than I did originally, but I can certainly discredit a lot more people's opinion on the matter. And besides, the backing track is straight fire on this one, and you can't even lie, so don't even try to start shit, cause you're wrong and the music's pretty good, you gotta admit that. Okay, bye!